how we're swapping you out the body.
Okay. I just left it on here.
No problemo.
Which one is yours? Right here.
Just follow the cable.
Oh no, you got
Because
no.
I'm gonna take it off anyways.
All right.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to have Micheál Martin, Taoiseach, Ireland. It's a special place, and he's a very special guy. He did it the hard way also. He served, and then he took a little time off, and then he served again. I've heard about that. That happens on occasion. And he's done very well. And we knew each other from a long time ago. But it's a great honor to have you in the Oval Office and have you at the White House. We have tremendous business relationships with Ireland, and that will only get stronger. The relationship we have personally and every other way is very, very strong and very, very good. So I just want to welcome you to Washington, D.C. and to our country, and thank you very much.
May I thank you, President. It's a great honor for me to be here to celebrate St. Patrick's with you.
Right.
And I thank you for your hospitality and the warmth of your reception. And I commend you in terms of the work that you're doing, particularly in terms of the pursuit of peace, which we discussed earlier. And I think that's going well. And you really have, in the first sort of 100 days of this government, you've done some extraordinary things very quickly.
Thank you.
Everybody's watching in that respect. So
Thank you.
delighted to be here. It's an honor to be here.
Well, it's a great honor to have you, and special people, very special people. I know a lot of Irish, and growing up in New York, I know a couple of your people that used to live in that beautiful Ireland, and now they're here, but they love your country very much. You know, they have a great feeling toward your country.
They have, and a lot come back for holidays and
they come back.
stuff like that, and checking out their family, ancestry and things like that. You know.
Great, fantastic people.
Some go to Doonbeg as well. Yeah.
And they we love Doonbeg. I love them. I don't know if I'll ever see it again. Maybe I won't, but
we would like
I
to
think
come
I
back and
will.
see it,
We'll get there.
yeah.
We're going to get there. It's a beautiful place, wonderful place. Any questions?
Mr. President, on tariffs, how far
Yeah,
are you
please.
worried? President Trump, how worried are you about the counter tariffs from the EU, which were announced yesterday? And also, how worried should Ireland be, given the fact that it has a massive trade surplus with the US, over $50 billion? Micheál Martin might be quite nervous about what you're going to tell him today.
Well, I don't think he looks nervous to me. And if he was nervous, he wouldn't show it. No, we do have a massive deficit with Ireland, because Ireland was very smart. They took our pharmaceutical companies away from presidents that didn't know what they were doing. And, you know, it's too bad that happened. It's a tremendous job I give. Look, the Irish are smart. You're smart people. And you took our pharmaceutical companies and other companies, but, you know, through taxation and proper taxation, they made it very, very good for companies to move over there. And we had presidents and people that were involved in this that had no idea what they were doing, and they lost big segments of our economy. The European Union treats us very badly. They have for years. I saw that. I had it out with them in my first term. It did well, but we had to solve other problems, and we did. But European Union's been very tough, and it's our turn too. You know, we get a turn at that also, but they have not been fair. They sue our companies and win massive amounts of money. They sued Apple, won $17 billion, and they use that for other reasons, I guess, or to run the European Union. So I'm not knocking it. They're doing what they should be doing, perhaps, for the European Union, but it does create ill will. And as you know, we're going to be doing reciprocal tariffs. So whatever they charge us, we're charging them. Nobody can complain about that. Whatever it is, it doesn't even matter what it is. If they charge us 25 or be playing with electricity, it affects people's lives. Actually their life. I mean, it can affect, depending on weather, it can affect their life. So we can't do that. And it doesn't make sense that our country allows electricity to be made in another country and sold into us. Who did that deal for the United States? Okay, I looked at that long ago, and I said that's not something that's very smart. So we've had a lot of bad trade policies, and yet we're doing very well right now. But we're doing well because I won the election. If I didn't win the election, you would have had a very bad period. I think a lot of the stock market going down was because of a really bad 4 years that we had. When you look at inflation and all of the other problems wars and inflation and so many other problems. but we're going to have very good years. We had, I don't know if you saw a little thing like the cost of eggs, little to you, but big to people out there, down almost 30% in the last few days. We got it down. We did a lot of things. We have a great Secretary of Agriculture, and we did a lot of things that got the cost of eggs down very substantially, and so many other things. A very big thing that I'm very happy with is oil is down to $65 a barrel, and that's faster than I would have anticipated. We put on the gas, we stepped in the gas in order to get oil, and what's happening. So we're getting that down, and when energy comes down, prices are going to be coming down with it. So in a very short period of time, we've done a very good job. And I think that the tariffs that we're talking about, and again, reciprocal, I think that the tariffs, there are some cases where they're a little beyond reciprocal because, we've been abused for a long time as a country. We have been abused really for a long time, and we will be abused no longer. Okay.
Are you going to retaliate to the EU retaliation?
Education, sir, would you describe for us, is this meeting your vision by cutting about half the workforce? And what responsibility do you feel to the civil servants who have now lost their jobs? Many of them worked at the Department of Education during your first term.
Sure, I do. I feel very badly, and but many of them don't work at all. Many of them never showed up to work. Many of them never showed up to work, Kelly, and unfortunately, and that's not good. And when we cut, we go, and that's what I had a number of meetings with a lot of people over the last couple of months. When we cut, we want to cut, but we want to cut the people that aren't working or not doing a good job. We're keeping the best people. And Linda McMahon is a real professional, actually a very sophisticated business person. And she cut a large number, but she kept the best people. And we'll see how it all works out. But our country was run very badly. I mean, whether it was that or contracts that were signed that was so bad, so obviously bad, and I go through them in speeches. I could go through them all day long. I could read for billions and hundreds of billions of dollars, and all of that fat and waste and fraud and abuse is being taken out. But it's incredible what's happened. Now, Department of Education's, maybe more so than any other place, has a lot of people that can be cut. They're, number one, not showing up to work. Number two, they're not doing a good job. And if you take a look at our education process, and if you look at the charts, because they have numerous charts where they do the top 40, we're at number 37, 38, 39, and 40. And recently they hit, during Biden's last few days, they hit last. So they were number 40, and yet we're number 1 in cost per pupil. So it's pretty bad, but we have a dream, and you know what the dream is? We're going to move the Department of Education. We're going to move education into the states, so that the states, instead of bureaucrats working in Washington, so that the states can run education. And you have Norway, you have Denmark, you have Sweden, you have Finland, you have various countries that do very well. You also have China that does very well in education, which is a pretty big tribute to China, I must say. 1.4 billion, and they're in the top 10, and it's pretty amazing. So we can't blame size anymore. Normally you'd blame size. It's too big. How can you do it? But China does it. So we think when you move it back to Iowa and Indiana and all the states that run so well, there's so many, I could name 30, maybe almost 40. Those will be as good as Denmark. Those will be as good as Norway, and they'll be as good as any of these. I believe they'll be as good as any. Now, then you're going to have 10 that won't be so great. You're going to have 5 that will not be good at all, but we'll work with them and we'll get them to be good. But what we want to do is always school choice, but we're going to do school choice, and we're doing it. But we want education to be moved back where the states run education, where the parents of the children will be running education, where governors that are doing a very good job will be running education, not run. I drive through the city and I see like so many buildings, Department of Education, Department of big buildings, and by the way, they're empty. Nobody shows up to work. So I think Linda did a very good job.
Mr. President, do you have a meeting with Vladimir Putin scheduled or a conversation? What would be your
I won't comment on that, but we had a great success yesterday. We have a full ceasefire when it if it kicks in, we have to see. It's up to Russia now. But we've had a good relationship with both parties, actually, and we'll see. We'll be knowing people are going to Russia right now as we speak, and hopefully we can get a ceasefire from Russia. And if we do, I think that would be 80% of the way to getting this horrible bloodbath finished. It's a bloodbath is taking place over there. On average, 2,000 to 3,000 young people a week are being killed in that stupid war that would have never happened if I were president. So we have people going over there, Mr. VP. Do you have anything to say about it? Because you're very much involved. What's going to happen?
Well, we've got some conversations that are happening on the phone and in person with some of our representatives over the next couple of days. As the president said, we think that we're in a very good place where the Ukrainians have agreed to a ceasefire, and we're now going to see whether we can get the Russians to agree to a ceasefire too, and we'll certainly have news on that when we find out that news.
Are you confident that President Putin will keep the ceasefire, considering that he's broken them in the past?
We haven't spoken to him yet with substance, because we just found out and we just were able to get Ukraine to agree. So we're going to know very soon. I've gotten some positive messages, but a positive message means nothing. This is a very serious situation. This is a situation that could lead to World War III. And Biden should have never let it happen. Incompetence allowed this to happen. This shouldn't have happened. October 7th in the Middle East should have never happened with Israel. The horrible leaving, the way they left Afghanistan should have never happened. Inflation should have never happened. You know, we have great inflation numbers, by the way, just got released. Inflation is way down, and it's based on what we've done, and we've done it in a very short period of time. You know, we had virtually no inflation. For 4 years, we had almost no inflation, and when these characters took over, we went from no inflation to the worst inflation probably in the history of our country. So it's very interesting. Go ahead.
Are you going to retaliate against me?
And by the way, I have to speak of inflation. I love these socks. What's with these socks?
It's in honor of the T-shirts.
I'm trying to stay focused, but I'm very impressed with the VP's socks.
Mr. President,
Say to you that the United States is recognized as having such an important role in the peace process, and yet half the parties from the Northern Ireland government have decided not to come to the St. Patrick's Day celebrations.
They haven't, what?
They haven't come over, they're boycotting the St. Patrick's Day celebrations.
What are they boycotting?
They are talking about your position on Gaza as one of the reasons why they...
Oh, I haven't heard that. I really haven't heard that. Look.
Can I just say, I got to pay tribute to the President on the peace initiatives. The one thing we've learned in Ireland about the peace process that you've just spoken about, and I recall back in the early 90s, when the first tentative steps to get peace in Ireland, people criticised people like John Hume or people like Albert Reynolds, and then Taoiseach. But they kept going. And when we got that ceasefire in 1993, okay, it took a number of years to get the comprehensive peace settlement. But again, the guns more or less largely went silent. The war in Ukraine is a devastating war on young people. And I think that very simple, straightforward narrative is to be commended. We all have children. We would be shocked at the prospect of young people losing their lives in that number, be they Ukrainian, be they Russian, whatever. Anything we can do to stop the violence, I think, is an extremely positive day. And there will be all sorts of people having qualifications on it and all the rest of it. It's our job then to work on it and to try and build it, Europe, US and everything.
I will say, and thank you for that, but I will say, last week 2,500 young people died while we sit here and talk.
Yeah.
And while they talk about peace, but they've been talking about peace. This should have never happened. This war should have never happened. It would have never happened if I was president. That's what makes me more angry than anything else, because you've had far more people die than they report, than these people report, for whatever reason. But you had far more people. The numbers are far more devastating. You'll find that out someday. And it doesn't affect you very much. They're not Irish, and they're not from my country. They're from Russia mostly, almost all from Russia and from Ukraine. And people could say, why are you doing this? Why are you involved in that? Because 2,000 people a week are dying. And they have families, and they have mothers, and they have fathers, and they have sisters, and they have brothers and friends. And they're dying. And I've seen the pictures, the satellite pictures that we see all the time. And it looks like Gettysburg in its prime. because that was, they say, one of the most horrific battles ever. You have kids lying all over these fields that are dead because the weapons today are unbelievable, between drones and various types of guns. I'm not even talking about beyond that with the big babies. You understand what I mean? I hate to even mention the name, the nuclear name. I hate to mention it. But you have weapons today that are so powerful. And I see kids every week. I see pictures of kids laying all over the field dead. They're dead. Beautiful kids. They're dead. And they're not from here and they're not from where you are, but he's working very hard. We're all working hard to get this thing finished. It's crazy over nothing, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's just a terrible situation. And I think we have a chance to get it done. So we've gotten half of it as a ceasefire, and if we can get Russia to stop, then we have a full ceasefire, and I think it'll never go back to war. I think something will.
Can I ask you about Ireland's relationship with Israel? There's been a lot of talk recently. The government are looking to bring in what's called the Occupied Territories Bill, which would ban goods from occupied territories. I know you met with Prime Minister Netanyahu recently. Did Ireland come up in that conversation? Did he raise any concerns about the Irish government?
One thing I'll tell you, you're not from Israel, that's for sure, huh? She is definitely not from Israel. It's an interesting question coming from you. We talk about everything. Israel has been under siege, as you can see, and they had to fight back. October 7th was a terrible thing. People don't like to mention it, but it was a terrible, terrible day in the life of the world. And it's amazing the way people don't mention that, but it was, I've never seen anything like it. Those are other clips I get to see. You know, as president, you get to see clips that you'd rather not see, but I see clips, and that was a terrible day for the world. And we're working hard with Israel. We're working hard to see if we can solve the problem. I will say I just saw 10 hostages, and they were treated really badly. They were really treated badly. I was shocked. I asked them, was there any kindness shown? They were in there. One was in there for 500 days. One was 323 days. I said, was there any, 10 of them, I said, was there any kindness displayed? Like, did they ever, like, say, don't worry, you'll be okay? Or give you a little wink, or give you, like, an extra slice of bread or something? And everybody said, all of these people said, zero. It was hatred. It was pure hatred. So, I mean, that's a very deep-seated problem.
Could you give the Taoiseach some advice? Could you give the Taoiseach some advice? Ireland is in the midst of a housing crisis now, and I know you have a lot of experience as a businessman. How can the state build tens of thousands of houses at speed?
You know why they have a housing crisis? Because they're doing so well. They can't produce houses fast enough. That's a good problem, not a bad problem.
That's a pretty good answer, President.
Congratulations. No, it's true.
Will you put more tariffs on the EU, Mr. President? Mr. President, will you?
Everybody should have that problem. That's okay.
Will you put more tariffs on the EU?
I know this gentleman. He'll get it solved.
Will you put more tariffs on the EU? Will you respond to their retaliation?
Oh, of course I'm going to respond.
You will retaliate.
The problem
with more
is
tariffs.
our country didn't respond. Look, the EU was set up in order to take advantage of the United States.
Including Ireland? Is Ireland taking advantage of the US?
Of course they are. I can't, you know, I have great respect for Ireland and what they did. And they should have done just what they did. But the United States shouldn't have let it happen. We had stupid leaders. We had leaders that didn't have a clue. Or let's say they weren't business people, but they didn't have a clue what was happening. And all of a sudden, Ireland has, you know, our pharmaceutical companies and other, this beautiful island of 5 million people, has got the entire U.S. pharmaceutical industry in its grasp. And, you know, you mentioned housing and you mentioned other things. I mean, I have property in Ireland, as you know, and I love it. It does great. But I'd like to see the United States not have been so stupid for so many years, not just with Ireland, with everybody. You know, I looked at trade deals. I was telling the group yesterday, I looked at trade deals in term one. It's one of the reasons I decided I had to do this, because somebody had to straighten it out, and I didn't see anybody that was going to. I looked at trade deals that were so bad, I'd actually say, how is it possible that this could have happened? Who would have been so stupid to let these deals happen? For instance, when the pharmaceutical companies started to go to Ireland, I would have said, that's okay if you want to go to Ireland. I think it's great. But if you want to sell anything into the United States, I'm going to put a 200% tariff on you. So you're never going to be able to sell anything into the United States. You know what they would have done? They would have stayed here.
So do you are you planning to lower corporate taxes to match?
He's so lucky that I wasn't.
Are you planning
He's so lucky.
Sir, are you planning to lower corporate taxes to match Ireland? Are you planning to lower corporate taxes to match Ireland?
Well, we are planning to lower taxes, yeah, if the Democrats behave, but the Democrats have no clue. You saw that the other night during the speech. 2 young women were slaughtered by illegal aliens. 1 young man has very serious cancer and many other problems. We look at the people up there, they all had difficulty, very serious difficulty. But when we're talking about 2 young girls, beautiful young girls, Lake and Riley, you know the whole story. That evening was a disaster for the Democrats, in my opinion. And I would mention, and I'd see 2 mothers that were inconsolable as they stood, crying. Their daughters have been absolutely just destroyed, killed, viciously killed. And the young man who loves the police departments, he had cancer and has cancer, very bad cancer. There wasn't from people sitting there, Democrats, there wasn't a hand clap. Nobody stood. They were just stone-faced. These people are sick. There's something wrong with them. There was no standing for anybody. The only thing they liked is when they heard about the death taking place with Ukraine. They were happy about that. They were happy about that. Pocahontas was very happy. She's the one that was slapped. That's why I looked at her. I said, oh, it's Pocahontas. These people are sick. They don't know what's happening in the real world. The Democrats have to get their act together. And if they don't vote, then what you're going to do is you're going to have taxes that are going to go through the roof. You're going to have a very bad time. You're going to have some very bad things happen. And people are going to blame the Democrats. And Schumer is a Palestinian as far as I'm concerned. He's become a Palestinian. He used to be Jewish. He's not Jewish anymore. He's a Palestinian. Okay.
On tariffs, there's been a lot of on and off, some inconsistency.
There's no inconsistency, only with NBC, which is one of the worst networks on television, by the way. Let me just tell you the inconsistency. I have the right to adjust. And I was called by the automakers, as an example, General Motors, Ford, etc., the big 3, the big 4, and they asked me to do them a favor. Could I delay it for a period of 4 weeks so that they're not driven into a little bit of a disaster for them? They actually love what I'm doing, but they had a problem. And I'm not like a block that just, I won't delay. It's called flexibility. It's not called inconsistency. It's called flexibility. And I think you want me to be flexible too.
Is flexibility going to be your ongoing view towards?
Sure, I'll always have flexibility, but there will be very little flexibility once we start. April 2nd is going to be a very big day for the United States of America. The United States of America is going to take back a lot of what was stolen from it by other countries and by, frankly, incompetent U.S. leadership, grossly incompetent. I gave you an example of Ireland. I would have never let that happen. Impossible for that to have happened. But we're going to take back our wealth, and we're going to take back a lot of the companies that left are coming back. If you haven't read, we have the biggest computer chip company ever, has virtually all of the market. I didn't call them, they called me. And they called for 2 reasons. Number one, we had a great election of somebody that they want running the country. And we won in a big mandate. We won every swing state. We won by millions of votes. We won by 2,750 districts to 500. Think of that, 2,750 districts to 500. That's why the map, when you looked at it, was entirely red, meaning Republican. Not meaning communist. Meaning so anyway, look, this country needed somebody to defend it. It's this big, beautiful place that was being ripped off by illegal immigrants coming in from prisons, coming in from mental institutions, gang members, gang leaders, drug dealers, pouring into our country with the open borders. I am so angry at the last 4 years of what they've done to our country, what they've done to this country between inflation, but maybe the most that bothers me is that they would allow millions of people to come into our country that are stone cold murderers, killers, drug dealers, the worst gang members, the worst people allowed into our country, and we're now getting them out. We're going to get them out. We're getting them out. I want to thank Tom Homan, by the way. He's doing a great job. And I want to thank Christy Noem, who's doing a fantastic job. This is a job that's so unnecessary. This should have never happened. This should have never happened. So we're bringing back our country in many ways, not only financially, and financially we'll be stronger than ever before. I think the markets are going to soar when they see what's happening. I'll tell you what, I'm called every day by numerous big companies. I spoke at the Business Roundtable yesterday. They had the largest attendance they've ever had. And these are only the CEOs and chairmen, but mostly the people that run, the boss, the people that run the top 150 companies. 150 people showed up. Every single company showed up. First time it ever happened. It's been around a long time. The biggest business leaders. We had a great discussion, went really well. And I want to tell you, there's tremendous optimism out there about our country in terms of regulations being cut, in terms of taxes being cut. And it would be great if the Democrats would do what's right. It would be great if the Democrats would do what's right for our country for a change, because they really are there. They've lost their way. They've lost their way. They think that people pouring into our country from prisons, jails, murderers. We have 11,088 murderers that were allowed into, people that murdered people, half of which murdered more than one person in our country. We're getting them the hell out. But who would allow this to happen? Who would allow men to play in women's sports? And they're still fighting it. It's got to be a 95% issue. But they're on television this morning. I see this person, a Democrat, say, we should have the right. No. Men should not be, they're hurting women. They're hurting women very badly. They're hurting women. And they should not, and they're also demeaning women. But who would want these things? And everything's transgender. Everybody transgender. That's all you hear about. Now, that's why we won the election in record numbers. But very importantly, now it is what it is. The Democrats should get with us and come up with good tax policy so that Ireland and other countries can't take our businesses away from us. And he understands exactly. You guys did the right thing. I'm not upset with you. I respect what you've done. You've done a great job. But our people did a very bad job.
How advanced are your plans to try and bring some of those companies back to America? Will you be briefing?
Well, I'd love to have him back. I'd love to have him back, but he'll be fighting me on it.
What I would say, President, if I could 1 second, just make the point. It's a two-way street too, and we are investing a lot more in America now. And people may not realize, but Ryanair, one of our biggest airlines, for example, AirCap, they buy more, the two of them together buy more Boeing airplanes than anybody else outside of America. That's a little known fact. It doesn't turn up in the statistics, but Ryanair and AirCap, big aircraft leasing company, Irish company, have done great work with Boeing and huge investments over the last couple of years, you know. So, and there's a lot of Irish companies here now, about 700 odd Irish companies based in America. Glanbia, Smurford, Rock, I was saying to you this morning, Vice President, a lot of them creating thousands of jobs in America. And it's only fair. I mean, that's correct.
That's right.
That's the way it should happen. And I think it's a very good relationship we have. It's a historic one. It's happened over time. We've added value to American companies. We've increased their value. They've got access to the European market, and they did all of that. I understand where you're coming from fully. But I think it's a relationship that we can develop and that will endure into the future, and will change, it will adapt, and you're evolving and you're doing things.
And they've done a very good job. Now, I just will say this, but with all that we've said, we can talk about Ryanair. There's a massive deficit. I don't mean by a little bit. I mean, there's a massive deficit that we have with Ireland and with other countries too. And we want to sort of even that out as nicely as we can, and we'll work together. We're going to work together great, but the deficit is massive. Will you hear this one?
You said earlier that it was now up to Russia in terms of the ceasefire.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can do in terms of pressuring Russia or in terms of
Yeah.
sanctions? Or
Yeah,
what can you do?
we can, but I hope it's not going to be necessary. Sure, we can pressure. We can do that with Russia. Remember this, Russia took Georgia from Bush, right? They took Crimea from a man named Obama, Barack Hussein Obama, right? They tried to take the whole thing from Biden. They're going for the whole ball of wax. Who was the only one that never took anything from? Trump. And in fact, I'm the one that stopped Nord Stream 2, the pipeline, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world. I stopped it. It was dead. And then Biden got in and he approved it. Nobody mentions that. What I did to Russia was very tough. I was the toughest ever. But nope, they never took anything from me. They took them from Obama and Bush, and they took it from Sleepy Joe Biden. With Biden, they wanted to take the whole country, but I think I've stopped that, but we'll see. But yeah, there are things you could do that wouldn't be pleasant in a financial sense. I can do things financially that would be very bad for Russia. I don't want to do that because I want to get peace. I want to see peace, and we'll see. But in a financial sense, yeah, we could do things very bad for Russia. It would be devastating for Russia, but I don't want to do that because I want to see peace. And we're getting close to maybe getting something done. We've got Ukraine done, and as you know, I've always said that Ukraine might have been the more difficult party. You were here a week ago when some interesting things happened. I had somebody that didn't seem to want peace. Now he's agreed to peace. So we'll see what happens. Brian?
Yes, thanks.
Thank you.
First, we'll congratulate you on your lower inflation core rates.
Thank you.
Gas prices going down, airline prices going down. This is for the Irish gentleman here, if I can see it real quickly. Welcome to the United States. You look great.
Thank you.
Nice suit.
Now you feel good. He knows.
What's coming next?
Ran on MAGA, Make America Great Again. If you could run on MEGA, Make Ireland Great Again, what would your #1 issue be for people in Ireland right now to make your country stronger? And I've got a 2-part question to that as well.
Yeah. The #1 issue in Ireland is housing, to be honest, and I think it was correctly pointed out. We've got to build more houses. We've got to build them faster to give the young people of Ireland an opportunity to afford to buy a house or to afford to rent a house. We have a lot of other good things happening. That's my #1 priority.
Wonderful.
Are you trying to
and my
ensure,
second
Mr.
part question
President?
to this, Ireland is known for very happy, fun-loving people, great attitude, many in this room right now that I've met. Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I think she's going to lower your happiness level.
That's true. Thank you. I like that question.
Mr.
Do you know you have Rosie
President,
O'Donnell? Do you know who she is?
Do
you know who she is?
Yeah.
I'm joking.
You're better off not knowing.
Prime Minister, are you expecting to inform the President your views on Gaza, considering that you have diametrically opposed positions on the state of Palestine? Your country is one of 3 in Europe that recognizes the state of Palestine. Are you expecting to discuss this with the President? Are you expecting to inform him?
I don't have to inform the President. He's very well clued into the whole situation. We shared the President's, again, unrelenting focus on peace. And he's envoying, the President himself, as soon as he came into office, went to get a ceasefire. We've been calling for a ceasefire for a long time. We want to consolidate the peace. That is our fundamental aim. We want the hostages out. I've been saying it from day one. It's a horrific thing to do to take someone as a hostage. And I went to Kibbutz Be'eri after October the 7th in solidarity with Israel, and that gets forgotten. And I went a week or 2 afterwards. I saw the kibbutz. It was a shocking thing to see, even though it was a week or 2 after the horror. It was a village. You could see life going on prior to the attack. It was something that will not leave me. And I've been interested in the Middle East for a long, long time. It's complex, and it's all of that. But we do desperately need hostages out, all of them. It's far too long. Let me finish. And then we need a ceasefire. We need to consolidate that. We need a surge of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Because again, there's too many children and too many people starving and so on. Just too many. And it's that humanitarian impulse is what motivates the Irish in respect of its views. And I've always been of the view, it's been our view that two-state solution would be ideal. It's become much more challenging and difficult as time has moved on. But that has always been our position. But it's genuinely to have people, because we've gone through this. We discussed this prior to you coming in. We've been through some of this. People hating each other, terrible acts of violence carried out on each other. We came through it. It's our earnest hope that Arab and Jewish people can live side by side. And I've met with people, parents of children who were killed on both sides, called Parent Circle in Israel, and they work to try and bring people together. It's difficult work.
What about the president's plans to expel Palestinians out of Gaza? Are you discussing that with him and giving him your...
Nobody's expelling any Palestinians. I don't know. Who are you with?
I'm with Voice of America, sir.
Oh, no wonder. Okay, Voice of
Can you exercise Taoiseach how he feels about the president just saying that he would like to take back US companies, pharma companies based in Ireland?
Well, I think the pharmaceutical companies in Ireland are doing very well, as the President has outlined. Again, I think it's about that two-way partnership. I understand fully where the President is coming from. I think there's actually room, now we can discuss all this, I think there's room for those companies to grow in America, and many of them, by the way, have already announced fairly significant manufacturing investments now.
It's true, just recently.
Like people like Eli Lilly, for example, who have been a long-standing presence in Ireland since the 1970s. I spoke to the CEO recently.
He's great.
Great guy. And he's announced, I think, about a $50 billion investment in America.
New plans.
But there's big investment, they've had big investment in Ireland. Ireland has served them well too, The workforce is very strong. It's an educated workforce. They've delivered well. During COVID-19, a number of CEOs said to me, a lot of the plants in Ireland were the only plants that never closed for a single day during COVID. Not a single day. Productivity is good and so on like that. But look, there'll be swings around.
Mr. President, thank you so much. You spoke to Vladimir Putin for quite a while on the phone. So I want to know your assessment. When you take this deal to him now, how do you assess the chances of Putin?
I have no assessment, and I don't go by chances. I think it makes sense for Russia, a lot of downside for Russia too. And we have a very complex situation solved on one side, pretty much solved. We've also discussed land and other things that go with it. We're not just doing it and saying ceasefire. We don't know what's happening. We know the areas of land we're talking about, whether it's pulled back or not pulled back. We've discussed a lot of the details of what has to go because we don't want to be wasting time. We don't want to be wasting time while people are dying. I mean, as we're sitting here, you probably had 2 people die on that very open field. It's dead flat. It's great farmland, and it's dead flat. There's no protection. The only thing that stops a bullet is a human body. And these are bodies that are young people, and they're stopping a lot of bullets because a lot of bullets are flying across those level fields. Dead flat, no protection whatsoever. It is a disaster. And so I hope he's going to have a ceasefire.
You are using the American leverage to get a lot of political issues.
Well, I don't want to get into that, but if I had to, I'm the only one that's dealt with them successfully. Everyone else, I went through it. Bush didn't deal with them successfully, dealt with them terribly, got ripped off. And Obama was a disaster. They have with Obama, he gave them sheets, and I gave them anti-tank missiles. You know that, right? It's called Javelin. You know the Javelin? I'm the one that gave them the Javelins. People don't say that. And then they say, oh, Trump has a great relationship with Russia. I'm the one that gave him the Javelins. Obama gave him sheets. That's an expression. He gave sheets, I gave javelins. So,
Mr. President, how worried should the undocumented Irish be about your administration that you don't round them up and send them home again?
Oh, I think the Irish love Trump. We won the Irish with a tremendous amount of vote. I want to thank you very much. We won in the 80s with Irish. I got the Irish vote. I think I have it locked up pretty good, unless I did something very stupid, like drained your company, your wonderful place of all of its companies. If I drained Ireland of all of the companies, maybe I'd lose the Irish vote. I don't know. But right now, no. I love it. I've been there many times, as you know.
Yes.
and we don't want to do anything to hurt Ireland. We want to, but we do want fairness, and he understands that.
The markets, you
No, no, that's enough, Kelly. Thank you.
President, was there anything that the Taoiseach could say to you today that would dissuade you from going ahead with
I can't hear.
Mr. President, it's Irish American Appreciation Month, you've named it there. Who's your favourite Irish person?
Oh, there's so many. Are you kidding me? Well, I do happen to like your fighter. He's got the best tattoos I've ever seen. I don't know if I'm a big, but that.
Conor McGregor.
Boy, you have. Well, Conor's great, right? You know, talking about Conor, but you have a lot of great Irish fighters, actually. Great fighters. I don't know what that is, but Ireland's always had a lot of good fighters. You know why? Because they're tough people. They're smart people and they're passionate people, and they really have been over the years. So many. I think your father was a great fighter, right?
He was. You did.
Wow.
Right.
And yet, look at you. You're so smooth and so.
He was a very good defensive boxer. He could weave.
He was a really good.
He was a good boxer. Yeah. Yeah. He boxed for Ireland. Boxed for Ireland. And
yeah. That means you genetically. I'm not going to mess around. Do
you follow any Irish golfers?
Okay. Let's a couple of more from somebody that didn't ask a question. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Mr. President, should Apple go back to the US from Ireland?
Who?
Apple.
Oh, Apple's been treated very badly. Look, Apple had tremendously bad luck. I thought they had a very good lawsuit, but they lost.
We fought with them.
$16 billion. $16 billion, and they're after a lot of our American companies. See, that's what's unfair. It's the European Union. I'm not blaming you. I'm blaming the European Union. The European Union's gone after our companies. And Apple's a great company, and they have to give $16-17 billion on a lawsuit that I didn't think was a good lawsuit. No, that's not good. No, the European, we have a problem with the European Union. They don't take our farm products. They don't take our cars. We take millions of cars, BMWs and Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagens and everything. We take millions of cars. I said to Angela Merkel at the time, I said, Angela, how many Chevrolets do we have in the middle of Munich? Why, none. I said, you're right, we have none. That's the way it is, we have none. No, I'm not happy with the European Union, I want to tell you. And, and we're going to win that. We're going to win that financial battle. It's a financial battle.
European cars, Mr. President? Tariffs on European cars, is that something you're going to consider?
Oh, absolutely, I will do that. Yes.
Mr.
Think of it, they have millions of cars coming in, millions and millions of cars. One of probably the largest. Japan's very big too, but and they don't accept our cars. We make great cars. They don't have our cars, but we have their cars. They don't have our farm products. We have the greatest farmers in the world. They don't accept our farm products, so we accept theirs. So, you know, things are going to change unless they do what they have to do, and they know what they have to do. This is not going to be a tough battle. In my opinion, not going to be tough. Just like when Ontario charged us, everybody said, oh, they just charged. I said, this will be won in 1 hour. And they announced what we were going to do, and they withdrew their little threat. And what they don't say in Canada is that 270%, have you ever heard that? We have tariffs on dairy products from Canada of 270%, going up to 400%. You never hear that. Canada's absolutely one of the worst. And we, when I say worst in terms of charging tariffs. Their dairy products, they charge our farmers 240, 250, 270, and 400%. Okay? Think of that for dairy product. And we charge them like peanuts. You know why? Because we've been improperly run for so many years. I had that all settled in my first term. But then, of course, Biden, you know, he let everything go to hell. One of the things we did is we took from China hundreds of billions of dollars, and I have great respect for President Xi. But he understood that. He understood it was a one-way street, and you can't have a one-way street. Okay. One more question.
Can you say which countries you might target in your next travel ban?
Say it.
Can you say which countries you might target in your next travel ban?
Wouldn't that be a stupid thing for me to say? I said, which countries am I going to target for the next travel ban? Can you believe somebody would ask that question?
As part of the...
Well, we're going to talk. We're going to be talking really to the European Union. You know, I will tell you this one little, we'll end it with this. So I have a property, a big property in Ireland that you know well. It's one of the most highly rated hotels in all of Europe. It's beautiful. Doonbeg. It's a beautiful 600 acres on the ocean, and everybody knows it. And we have a beautiful hotel. And I was going to do a project there, big expansion of the place. This was when I was a civilian, before the presidency, before I even thought about the presidency. But I was going to do a really beautiful expansion because it does very well. And I got the approvals from Ireland so quickly. They were so professional. They wanted it. You know, it's economic development, it's jobs, it's construction jobs, a big expansion, beautiful expansion. But I was told something that bothered me. They said, sir, you also have to get approved by the European Union. I said, why do I have to go to the European Union to expand a hotel that's in Ireland? They said, well, that's the way it is. I say, well, shouldn't that go fast? They said, no, it'll take at least 7 years. You gave me the approval in about 4 weeks. It was a beautiful professional. If you took 4 years, you wouldn't have done a better job. You know, everything was done environmentally, everything. There's no reason to take very long. I had everything from Ireland in 4 weeks. And then I hired somebody. He said the process will be from 5 to 7 years. And I said, oh, really? And then I found out that they weren't playing games. Now think about how bad that is for your country. So that was my first experience with the European Union. And I dropped the project. I just said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go 7 years to expand something. But I have to, I'll hand it to Ireland. You were so professional, so good. But I don't know why. European Union had to approve it. Yeah. And with them, it was deal. And that's the European Union. So it was a very bad experience I had.
Just say, President, you have the distinction of being, I think, the only president that has physically invested in Ireland.
That's
through your Doonbeg.
And it's been a good investment.
And I mean, for anybody who should go there, it's just stunning.
I love this.
No, I mean, seriously, even if you don't play golf, I mean, it is a stunning landscape.
Yeah.
Your people have restored it very well, and our people are going to continue to work with you on that piece to do it all sort of effectively and so on like that.
They've had a great relationship.
But it is, and the local people, my local councillor Rita McInerney texted me last week to say, tell President Trump to thank his family for the way they've worked with the local community and for the work that they've done.
I love Rory. I think Rory's great. He's a great golfer. He just won 2 weeks ago. He's a great guy. I played golf with him 3 weeks ago. And he's really a fantastic player. He's in good form too. When he played with me, he played very well, I can tell you. No, Rory certainly is one of the favorites. He's always going to be one of them. He's a very talented guy. He's a very good person too.
Are you planning to visit Dubai, Mr. President?
I will. I'll get there sometime. I hope soon. In fact, if we meet, we'll meet at Doonbeg. Okay, I would love it. But I hope to be able to get there.
Mr. President, does America have a future in NATO?
What's it?
Does America have a future in NATO?
Well, NATO has to treat us fairly. If they pay their bills and if they do what they're supposed to do. When I first got involved with NATO, as you know, they weren't paying their bills. There were 28 countries and most of them weren't paying. And I got them to pay. And they paid billions and billions of dollars. I made a certain statement that I'm not going to be involved with NATO unless you're going to pay your bills. And I was asked a question, if we don't pay, are you going to help us? I said, no, if you don't pay, you're saying you're delinquent. A real estate term. You're delinquent. You're not paying your rent. You're not paying your bills. If you're not paying your bills, I'm not going to help. And everybody we took in, your Secretary General will tell you, he was very generous to me. He said, I've never seen anything like it. Money came in by the billions and billions and billions of dollars, and NATO became much stronger. Now, NATO's expended a lot of that money in fighting this horrible war. It's too bad they had to do that. But they had the money from me. I was the one that got people to pay. The countries, most of the countries were not paying, or they were paying a very small amount. So we'll see. But NATO can be a force for the good, absolutely.
Would you like to see Ireland join NATO, Mr. President?
That's up to Ireland.
Would you think Ireland and the EU are too close? Do you think that perhaps, like you said,
we are very close.
No, Ireland and the EU. Do you think there's too close a relationship there? Do you think there needs to be a separation, like you said, if you can't get planning permission when you can get it in Ireland, but you can't get it in the EU? Do you think?
Well, look, I can just tell you about my personal experience. That Ireland treated me very well, and the EU was terrible, and they stopped really a magnificent addition. It wasn't a big deal from the standpoint of the world. It wasn't like the things we're talking about now, but it would have been a very beautiful addition. And they stopped it, which is bad for Ireland. And I don't know why. I don't know why it would take 5 to 7 years to get something approved, but that's what it was. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're headed out. Thank you. All right, headed out right behind you, right behind you. Right through this door. Thanks, guys. This way here.
Thank you. I should have.
Thank you.
anyone need white balance?
Towards it. All right.
Can you hear me? Okay. Good. They're pretty good.
Yes.
Okay.
I was like, do you want to come right there? Or
Well, I don't have to, so
I'm like, whatever here, bro. I mean, you could get this popcorn seats right there. Front row.
Make sure no one else is down there.
Why not? Lead the way. Get comfortable. See, now you're not. See, now you're not. At least you're in the horseshoe, right?
Sean says it sounds good so far.
Yeah. That's good.
Quite a bit. I've spoken to him quite a bit, and we're going to have no problems. And his wife, Mary, we welcome you to America. Fantastic people. And it's really a wonderful annual tradition being here. We're also grateful to be joined by Irish Ambassador to the United States, Geraldine Byrne Nason. Where's Geraldine? Hi, Geraldine. Thank you very much. And the entire Irish delegation. And I know we're a little bit, everybody's a little bit late today, but that's okay because we're celebrating the Irish, and I think it's okay we're a little bit late. I also want to congratulate a friend of mine, Ed Walsh. He's a great golfer. He's a championship golfer, actually. Not quite as good as Rory, but that's okay. But he's right up there. He's won many club championships, and he's one of the best golfers you'll ever see. And congratulations, boy, you're going to have fun over there. He's going to be the ambassador to Ireland. So congratulations, Ed. Well, maybe it is thanks to me, but you're going to have a good time. You're going to represent us well. He can do most of his business on the golf course, too. That's so nice. But he's got the best job of anybody. And I really appreciate so many of my friends being here. So many great friends are here. This afternoon, we're gathered to celebrate the deep and abiding ties of history, family, and friendship that bind together Ireland and the United States of America. The Irish-American patriots have been part of our national history in our country's earliest days. Amazing history they have with our country. Irish Americans fought heroically in our war for independence, served with honor in the crucible of the Civil War, and won fame and valor among Theodore Roosevelt's famous Rough Riders. They were Rough Riders by some estimates. Congressional Medal of Honor. This is an amazing statistic because who would ever think that's even possible? It's more than 50% of the medals of honor were won by the Irish. I'm going to have to check that. That sounds like, that's an awfully good statistic. We're going to have to check what's going on over there, huh? But that's an amazing statistic, actually, 50%. The great Audie Murphy, the most decorated enlisted soldier in American history, whose service in the Second World War earned a Medal of Honor, 2 Silver Stars, a Bronze Star, 3 Purple Hearts, and the Legion of Merit. Quite a person. Became a movie actor. The movie actor stuff wasn't quite as good as the soldier that he did, but he was great. Became a very famous person, actually. America has truly been blessed by the courage and unstoppable spirit of the Irish. Over the generations, Americans of Irish ancestry have helped build our railroads and raise our cities and man our factories, enrich our culture with art and music and literature. We see that